So what are the problems you see with folks that don't have a sales process? What's going on in those organizations?
So when there's not an effective sales process, what you wind up with is salespeople go out and do whatever they need to do to get sales, but it's not reflected anywhere in the organization. So Bob does his thing, and Sue does her
Mm,
thing, and Fred does his thing, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And then when they're done doing whatever it is they do to go get sales, then they come to the CRM and they write down whatever it is that they're supposed to write down in the CRM, and the two have nothing to do with each other. And
right.
management, it's a separate problem, but related. It's separate that management isn't spending enough time engaging with frontline sales reps. But if they're not spending time engaging with frontline sales reps, and the stuff that's in the CRM doesn't really reflect what the salespeople are doing in the field, then management has no insight and no visibility on what's happening in the sales organization.
Mm,
So there's two things that need to happen, right? One is that the process ought to reflect what salespeople are doing. That process should be reflected in the CRM, and management should be engaged through that process. I use process again. I probably shouldn't have. They should be engaged with all of that, and say, a properly developed sales process that really reflects what people are doing in the field, that is able to be articulated in the CRM, and that management is able to use as a way to get visibility into what
right.
salespeople are really doing,
Yes.
is a big step towards a more healthy sales organization. And developing that proper sales process is a big step in that direction.
Yeah. So what's the real problem with that? The problem would be everyone's doing things their own way. So you've got all these, maverick salespeople sort of learn their craft from wherever, all doing things differently. Um, like we want people to be able to express themselves, have some freedom. Um, so what would the problems be with that sort of maverick sort of approach? Um,
So the first problem is that not everybody's going to be successful, right? So some people are going to kind of figure out their own way to do it, and some people aren't. And you could look at your sales organization as, okay, it's sink or swim. I'm going to throw 10 salespeople into
yeah,
the pool. Some of them are going to get to the other side quickly. Some of them are going to get to the other side eventually, and some of them are going to drown, and I'm not going to have anything to do with it.
right.
So if everyone is kind of doing their own thing, yeah, you'll wind up with some kind of a Pareto-like distribution. But management just doesn't really have any vehicle to impact that at the team level. You might do one-on-one coaching, not enough people do. But at a team level, at an organization level, if you don't have some structure around what salespeople are supposed to do, then
Yes.
how is management supposed to address the organization as a whole? Now, you brought up a really good point, which is, there ought to be the ability for salespeople to express themselves. So I don't think a good sales process means I'm going to, tell you what to do with every word and every sentence and every pivot and every moment. But there are milestones that ought to be hit. So if we go back to our Kanban board, we've got our 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 main stages: leads, prospects, qualification. People use different words, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
But I think you have to ask yourself, what are the 5 or 6 things that have to happen in this stage
Hmm.
before I go to this stage?
Yes.
Now that doesn't mean I have to tell you exactly what to say at each little minuscule moment, but
Yes.
we ought to agree that if somebody is a lead and I'm going to think about turning them into a prospect, what has to happen before I do that? What do I need to know? What do I need to
Mm,
see? What do I need to discuss with them? Is there a scorecard? Is there some, ICP profile?
mm.
What do I need to know before I make that move? And if we can all agree on that, salespeople can figure out for themselves how to get there, or sales management can say, okay, now that we know what we need to do at each stage, let's talk about how to do each one of those
Right.
effectively. And
Yes.
now you're offering an opportunity for enablement that happens beyond measuring prospecting activity and measuring revenue. Now you're really saying, hey, listen, here are our big steps. Here are what needs to happen at each one. Here is how we ought to do it. Here are the best practices.
Mm.
And it not only gives structure with freedom, but it also enables the kind of conversations between reps and managers that are substantial during that middle part of the sales process, not just at the ends where things are easier to count.